This is Present Politics, hosted by leading political strategist Rashad Ritchie and civil rights attorney Robert Patillo. Listen as they interview trendsetters and newsmakers, both local and national. This is our time to talk about political issues that matter to us. Guaranteed to be controversial and always informative. Join us every Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. only on Love 860 WAEC, Atlanta's inspirational talk radio. You can also listen online at presentpolitics.com.
Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of Present Politics live on Love 860 WAEC.com. Call in, tune in, join the conversation. Find us on social media, www.presentpolitics.com, facebook.com/presentpolitics. Follow us on Twitter @presentpolitics. I'm your host, Robert Patillo, and we're joined this week by our good friend, Liz Flowers. Liz, how are you?
I'm doing great, Robert. This microphone is so far up, I feel like I need to stand on a little step stool.
Well, we will make sure we adjust everything so that you can be comfortable and excited and make sure the conversation goes forward. You know, it's been a very interesting week for our president. We're going to start with some local stories, or not some local, but national stories in politics. And this Affordable Care Act still seems to be bedeviling the president. What do you think is going on?
Well, you know, I wouldn't say that it's bedeviling as much as it was like a month ago, Robert. Let's face it. What we all know is that the website had a lot of issues in the technical rollout. If it had been up to you, if it had been up to me, we would have handled it a lot differently. But I have to say that I feel like the Republicans in Congress are just so obsessed with sabotaging and repealing this health care law that they're going to do anything and everything to keep that message alive that things are messed up.
But, you know, it's interesting to me because the Affordable Care Act is in many ways exactly what Republicans wanted for universal health care. So why is it all of a sudden they're so against it?
Well, I mean, that's a question for them, because we're talking about in Georgia that potentially up to 4 million people are now going to be covered in a way under insurance that they've always wanted to be covered in. You know, these awful annual deductibles go away. We don't have to worry about preventive care. People can go see their doctors in a stage of their illness or disease when it's not going to cost thousands and thousands of dollars. This is what we've been striving for. And, you know, I think a lot of people on the right are probably saying, wait a minute, that single payer is looking pretty good right about now. But we also need to remember where the Republicans are concerned. As you well know, Romney did this in Massachusetts, and President Obama's plan is based on a very right of center platform on health care, and yet they're still fighting it. So you can't have it both ways, and this has got to be then political for them and not about people.
You know, I think you're completely correct. This has to be political because in some, this is a Republican free market, you know, dream scenario that you're gonna take a private corporations and the government is going to force every American to buy into them, because this isn't a situation where we're having there's not even a public option. So this is exactly what Republicans have been saying they wanted for over 20, almost 30 years now. This was the Republican alternative to Hillary Care back in '94. This is exactly what they wanted, and yet they still fight tooth and nail to stop it.
That's exactly right. And I think what most folks are missing in this is that for those of us who have been insured and covered, we have up to $1,200 a year. And I'm not talking about some obscure national number. Right here in Georgia, $1,200 a year of hidden cost to cover the uninsured. So if we get everybody into this pool, people will see over time that their insurance dollar, the amount that they're paying into it, is going down, and that we are going to not only get better health care, but what we're paying out. Isn't that what fiscal conservancy is all about?
That's what it's supposed to be about. The one thing that I worry about with Obamacare most of all is that I worry that young people aren't going to buy into it. Because right now the fines are somewhere around $98 if you fail to get personal health care coverage. So if you're, you know, a 21-year-old, you know, in good health, thinking you're invincible, and you're looking at maybe $100 a month in healthcare cost versus just paying a one-time a year $100 fine, what incentive do you think is going to make young people buy into the system?
Well, I think there's a bunch of different incentives that are going to be around, including people's parents. What's fabulous about the Affordable Care Act right now is that you can stay on your parents' policy until you're 26. So it's going to let folks get out of school, get into a job, and start, making a little bit of money, and they have the assurance that they're still under mom and dad's policy. Well, when that starts to wane, I think mom and dad are going to help direct. And not just mom and dad, but aunties and grandmothers and everybody else who's in the mix to help young folks realize that this is something that they need to do to take care of themselves. I mean, let's face it. We all thought we were invincible in our 20s. We all thought we were going to live forever, and diseases happen to other people, not us. But there are a lot of people who suffer from things like asthma, diabetes, other issues that are now going to be covered because there's no pre-existing condition. And I think that's going to help young people get into the mix a little bit more. And it is that healthy 18 to 35-year-old group that's going to help drive down the cost for all of us once they're in the pool.
And that's exactly, I think people need to understand that this is the concept that belies this, which is that if you have all of the healthy people paying a small amount per month, then it basically subsidizes the unhealthy people to be able to not be bankrupted by health care.
That's right.
That by healthy 18 to 21-year-olds paying into the system, that allows the cost to go down for the 75, 80-year-old who needs more end-of-life care.
Which is exactly how the insurance pool works right now in the private market. So this is no different than what we know already, except that we're going to put more healthy people into the mix.
And it's interesting because I haven't seen a new Republican alternative, because since we're using the Republican healthcare plan right now, they don't really have another system. Their idea that they keep yelling, that you keep hearing Palin talk about and Glenn Beck is, well, let the free market determine it. That's exactly what this is doing. It is a free market alternative to the big government system that I wanted. My system would have been the Canadian system. I wanted Medicare, Medicaid for all, that as soon as you're born, you have health coverage, and that follows you throughout life. Is it the best health coverage? No, it's just like Social Security, where it's just a baseline level of health coverage, and then you can buy more on top of that. I think that's what most on the left wanted. I think that's the system that we wanted from the left, from the progressive wing, and this is kind of the best that we got.
Right.
So I think that's why it's left a lot of progressive, a lot of liberals wanting for more. But to see the amount of pushback that Republicans are giving Obama based on the Republican plan just really goes to show you how little they're willing to compromise and willing to work with the president.
Well, I agree with that. And let's get to the root of this. You well know this is a pocketbook issue. This being able to spend less on health care actually will allow us to, as Georgians, as Americans, to save more money. And we also need to remember that the GOP has voted 40 times to try to repeal Obamacare, and yet, what are they putting up legislatively to create jobs? What are they doing in all of the other areas that they're screaming and jumping up and down about? So to your point about, there's no alternative, they don't have an alternative to health care. They also haven't given us anything about jobs. And, on that issue, happy to hear this week that we are now at 7% at an unemployment rate, the national level, the best posted number in 5 years.
And, that's a perfect segue, because that's where we were going to next on this issue of unemployment, that the overall unemployment number has dropped to 7%, but in specific areas we've had almost no change. If you look at inner cities, if you look at African American communities, Hispanic communities, among young people, unemployment really has been unchanged since President Obama came into office. What do you think we need to do to start penetrating into those groups?
Well, I can tell you here in Georgia what we need to do is education.
Mm-hmm.
If we do not have an educated workforce, there is nothing we can do to work towards the future. That is our investment. And when you look at what's happened under the quote unquote reforms that we've had under Governor Deal, where our technical school students are still, half the number is registered this year. We're seeing a continued drop in the number of youth applying for 4-year colleges. If we do not put the investment into education, we are not going to drive down that unemployment number. And our folks are going to get hit with a double whammy that, yes, this national number is okay. We need to remind listeners that Georgia's unemployment rate is still 8.1%. So we're well above the national average. But they're going to get hit with that new deduction, the shortening of the unemployment insurance. And what we're also seeing is that the people who are going back to work are those who have been more on a short-term unemployed. We still have to deal with issues of long-term unemployment. Those who have been out of the job market a little bit longer are still struggling to get their jobs back.
And, it's interesting to me with our conservative friends that their answer to everything is, one, cut taxes because that cures everything, and then two, personal responsibility. But we've created a situation now where you can't do that, because by cutting taxes to the bone, you eliminate job training programs. So, if you worked in a factory for 30 years and the factory moved, there's nothing else there's nowhere you can go to learn how to do something new. With regards to young people, by cutting the Hope Scholarship to the bone, by cutting a lot of the grant programs, by the incessant increases in tuition, we've created a situation where if you're a low-income young person, unless basically you had a 4.2 GPA in high school and a perfect score on the SATs, it's going to be very difficult for you to get those job training skills. So for the people left behind, the economy there's no longer a cushion in the economy for them. There was a time 30 years ago or even 20 years ago where you would leave high school, not even graduate from high school. You'd go work at the loading docks. You'd go get a job at collecting trash or doing odd jobs, doing construction. You could do that for 20 or 30 years. You could raise a family. You could buy a car, have a nice middle-class house, and have a nice life for yourself. Now we've seen that great American middle go away. We're placed in a situation where if you aren't at the top, you're at the bottom, and the people in the middle are just dissolving because there's nothing in the middle to support that kind of economy anymore.
Yeah, and I think that when we look at education and we look at unemployment, one of the things, you talk about cutting taxes, the tax breaks that we're giving, unfortunately, aren't to people like you and me. We're giving tax breaks to Delta.
Exactly.
We're giving tax breaks to large corporations. When that Delta fuel tax was first introduced several years ago, it was when the bottom dropped out of our economy. And with Delta being arguably one of the largest employers in our state, it made sense to give them a break during, a really rocky time. To give that to say, okay, yeah, we're going to give you a break on the fuel tax this year. But guess what? Just like they accuse everybody else of doing on individuals, that has now become a way of life for Delta. So they have come back and back to get that same tax cut because guess what? That's called corporate welfare.
Exactly.
And so we are giving those cuts, and yet we're unwilling to look across the state at real tax reform, to look at some of these breaks and cuts that we've given to these corporations and say, what's working, what's not working, are they creating jobs as they say they will? I think we need to really dig down deep into that.
And what we have to do, we need to create public policy that benefits people in the middle, because the middle class, the small business owners, the self-employed people, those are the people who are going to create jobs. As you said, if we had a governor here in this state or a legislature here in this state that supported the middle, people like you and me who own our own businesses, we'd be able to expand. We'd have to worry less about state taxes and state regulatory fees and business licenses and those things, and hire a couple college students to come work for us, hire a couple young people in their early 20s to come work for us and get them into the workforce so now they have money in their pockets to spend. Instead, we give these tax breaks to Delta, to Home Depot, to Georgia Power. We take tax money and we build stadiums instead of building, roads or transportation systems. And because of that, we're ending up with a state that's being left behind. We're going to go to break listening to Present Politics on Love 860 AM WAEC. Call in, phone number 404-355-8699. We'll be back after the break.
Hello, this is Aaron Watson, your Atlanta City Council member, Post 2 at Large, encouraging you to register for Atlanta's Cry Wolf false alarm system. It is a free program aimed at reducing false burglary and security alarms at your home and business. When there's a false alarm and Atlanta police respond, they are pulled away from true emergencies. When you register with Cry Wolf, you are saving yourself from paying fines up to $150, and you are keeping our police focused on fighting crime. This is your Atlanta City Council member, Aaron Watson, reminding you to register online at crywolf.us/AtlantaGA or call 1-855-725-7102.
The lawyers of Johnson, Hopewell, Coleman offer the quality, experience, and expertise of a big firm, but with the personalized, client-centered approach to legal services that only a smaller firm can offer. Practice areas include personal injury, auto accidents, slip and fall, and negligent security, plus on-the-job injury, bankruptcy, family law, business and corporate law, wills and estates, and charter schools. Call today to see why Johnson, Hopewell, Coleman should be your one-stop law shop for all of your business and personal needs. Conveniently located in Decatur, within 5 miles of both 285 and I-20. Call and schedule an appointment right now. 404-289-2244. 404-289-2244. Or go online to jhclawyers.com. The hiring of an attorney is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertising. Ask for free written information about the firm's qualifications and experience.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Abrams. The lives of ordinary people are ensnared in a web of intrigue, and it all starts with rumors in my new novel. The story is fast-paced and draws the reader into the characters' experiences as secrets, lies, and conspiracies grow from rumors and create chaos in a quiet suburban community. Rumors, your perfect leisure time companion.
Rumors by Stephanie Abrams. Visit Amazon.com, where Rumors is available in print and Kindle formats, BarnesandNoble.com, and Exlibris.com in print and ebooks. Or go to sabrams.com/rumors to click right through. sabrams.com/rumors.
Rumors by Stephanie Abrams. That would be me.
Welcome back to Present Politics. I'm your host, Robert Patillo, sitting in for our co-host, Rashad Ritchie, is the wonderful Liz Flowers. Call in, phone number 404-355-8699. We're live right now on Love 860 AM WAEC. We're going to talk more about this topic of jobs right here in Georgia. Now, you know, we have a gubernatorial election coming up. We have a Senate election coming up next year. What do you think we need to be concentrating on? And I'm going to just come out and say, as Democrats, as progressives, for our candidates to speak about in the upcoming elections?
I think it comes down to three things: education, economy, and ethics. And I think most of them are tied to each other. We talked in the earlier segment about education and how that's so intensely tied to jobs, that without having good educational opportunities, and we talk a lot about the Hope Scholarship, and we talk a lot about technical colleges, but what's also in that mix is our K through 12 programs, our public schools, and making sure that we have the appropriate class sizes, making sure our teachers who haven't had raises in forever are well paid, that we're not stealing, teachers from different. They're not being stolen from us or moving in between private schools, because over 90% of our children are in the public school system. So even if we come up with a shiny new object like they tried to in the last couple of years of charter schools, you can't migrate all those kids over to another system. Won't happen overnight. So we need to talk about that. We need to talk about that tied to the economy. And then we need to talk about honesty and transparency in government. We've got some extraordinarily ethically challenged state leaders.
You are the nicest human being on earth, because I've never heard anyone say something that nice about corrupt people who should be in prison. If you're talking about our beautiful governor, Nathan Deal, he should be behind bars. When you say ethically challenged, He got ran out of Congress and had to run for governor because he was the subject of an investigation.
Yeah, he was almost like Cinderella, where the clock was about to strike midnight and he had to resign before he turned into a pumpkin.
Exactly. He hightailed it out of there. And so you get run out of Congress for corruption and you then run for governor. And luckily during the Republican primary, you're running against somebody who doesn't have a college degree and therefore you win the primary. And then all these other corruption allegations come out while you're running for governor and you still win. Mm-hmm. And then when you get into office and you're just unabashedly corrupt, people seem surprised, but still don't care.
I know, and I get into a lot of trouble for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway, and that is I hold voters responsible as well, because it's up to us to dig in and figure out who folks are. Why did we expect something different from him as governor than what he was doing in Congress?
You know, I have no idea, but as I learned from the time that I ran for office, that voters vote for strange reasons. It's a strange alchemy that, voters, because they always say, we need to throw all those bums out. We need to make changes, except for the person representing me. They're cool.
Right.
Yeah, for some reason, they never want to get rid of the person representing them, but they think everyone else is just horrible.
Right.
And then also, voters, they always say, well, I want to know the issues. But then if you try to tell them the issues, there's no good way to deliver the issues to voters. Because as you know from running campaigns, if you make phone calls, they hang up because, you can't interrupt them. If you send them mailers, they get mad because they don't like the mail in their mailboxes. If you knock on the door, they slam it in your face because you're, intruding into their homes. If you run ads on TV, they get annoyed. If you run radio ads, they change the station. But then they get mad when they don't have information about the campaign.
That's right. I remember the last election when I go into to my polling place, I think I'm at my station for under 10 minutes because when I go in, I know I'm checking XXXX box. And I watch and look around at the other voters and they're in there for the longest time looking at these names like somehow or another something's going to pop out and magically tell them who to vote for. You're not getting a breakdown on the candidate once you were at the polling site. You've got to do a little investigation. You've got to take a little responsibility. That's what a democratic republic is all about, and we need to get ourselves more engaged.
Hey, no, you're completely correct because most voters, and this is what I've noticed over the years, they vote the same way. They have their top 3 people they're going to vote for, and then everything else is a crapshoot. They walk in, and let's say it's a presidential election year. You say Obama, let's say Roy Barnes for governor, Michael Thurman for Senate. Wow, there are more pages here. I'm just going to hit buttons and go home. and because of that, candidates or politicians don't have a reason to really give meat during the election. They don't put meat on the bones of what their policy is going to be. I've done exit polling where people tell me like, well, they had a pretty yard sign. I just like the blue and white on there. Or they say, the mailer they sent to my house, the family was really pretty. But, they don't dig down into what the election is actually about. And that's how we end up with people like Nathan Deal elected governor.
You're exactly right. And I think that you've brought up an important point, which is the down ballot candidates. And, for the listeners, most of you I'm sure do know, is that, down ballot are all of those folks that fall under the top races of U.S. Senate and governor. And, one of the really important races we're going to have next year is for insurance commissioner. And, Ralph Hudgens, our current insurance commissioner this week, managed to not only dig a hole for himself, but dig another hole trying to get out. Folks may remember that this is the gentleman that a couple of months ago said that he was going to do everything he could to be an obstructionist to Obamacare. Then this past couple of weeks, he was filmed making a statement saying that you are responsible for your own pre-existing condition, and likened it to sort of a car insurance, car wreck sort of thing. And then explaining himself on NPR, he decides that no, maybe he was incorrect comparing it to a car wreck. That maybe it was more like coming home and finding your house on fire. This is a guy who does not care about the health care and the health of people in Georgia. And we need to find somebody who does care about people here. And that goes for all of the folks that our voters need to pay attention to down the ballot.
It's interesting because I've argued for years that Georgia should have far fewer elected positions. I think that insurance commissioner, most people don't know the insurance commissioner does. it's hard to have campaign talking points for insurance commissioner. So you end up in electing, a nice way to put it is, insane, corrupt people to be insurance commissioner. Someone like Ralph Hudgens, who's actually beginning his, 2018 campaign for governor or whatever he's doing right now by trying to get all this national attention and making these incendiary comments. So you're putting him in charge of your health care and in charge of your insurance rates. Or, another example, Public Service Commission. I have no idea why that's an elected position in the state, because no one knows what the Public Service Commissioner does except for the Public Service Commissioners and the lobbyist. If you go to Public Service Commission hearings, the only people there are lobbyists, and they actually run the meetings and then tell these commissioners when to talk and when not to talk. So I think that at some point in the future, we're going to have to look at reforming this system so that we have some apolitical positions, some positions that are just either appointed or where it's a meritocracy and maybe the best person gets in there. Right now we have Attorney General Sam Olens, who's also started his gubernatorial campaign. There's just specious prosecutions around the state because they make good PR headlines and will help him in the next election. And what's not getting done is helping actual Georgians.
Well, that's right. And Sam Olens is a great example of somebody who started his gubernatorial campaign, I think, a couple of years ago. And one of the things that's happened is that, he's managed to hold this case on Senator Don Balfour for almost an entire year. It was last year that the GBI handed down 18 counts of indictment against him, and they let him sit through the 2013 legislative session with those indictments because they knew that there was only one vote that stood between the Democrats and the Republicans, so they politicized that. So we spend the whole year with him, and now December 16th, a year later, he's finally going to go to trial, and we're not sure that means that he's not going to come out and still be able to be a sitting senator again.
And, I find it interesting that Governor Deal seems to use his, replacement power very liberally when it comes to Democratic elected officials or African-American elected officials. He got rid of the entire school board before. He replaced it a DeKalb County commissioner. Right. He has no problem when there's accusations of corruption against progressives. But if a Republican is, slightly corrupt, has a couple felonies, there's a paddy wagon waiting for them outside of the Capitol, that's fine. They have no problem with that. And for some reason, he hasn't used his plenary replacement power to take care of Balfour.
That's exactly right. And for those who remember back, when a Democrat gets in trouble, when we think about folks like Ralph David Abernathy III and others, those folks, they put out on the side faster than your head could spin. But now with Republicans, you can just sit and sit and sit and sit, and there's no repercussions whatsoever.
Exactly. And because of this, and bring it back to our original point, because that's a good thing about political conversations. They can just vacillate and roll with the waves. It's almost like the old explorers where we're setting out for, I don't know, the West Indies, and we ended up in America somehow. But on this issue of the 2014 elections, or Senate or statewide elections, we're gonna have to do something to we have the numbers to elect progressives in the state. We have the numbers to elect Michelle Nunn to be the next senator, to elect Jason Carter, to elect Connie Stokes, to win up and down the ballot. But for some reason, we can't get our people motivated. We can't get our people out to vote. And this brings us to our break. And we can talk about this when we load up on the other side. You're listening to Present Politics live on Love 860 AM WAEC. Remember, call in, join the conversation, 404-355-8699. Join us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We'll be right back.
Who's watching your home when you're not there? It could be a burglar. Burglars prefer to break in when they think no one is home, and no one will stop them. Don't be an easy target for intruders. Protect your home with a free security system monitored by ADT, the leader in home security. Call now and get free hardware, free medical and fire alert, and free activation. It's an $850 value. Call right now and you'll also get 6 free sensors. That's 6 points of protection for free. Just call Protect Your Home, your authorized ADT dealer, at 1-888-987-3232. You'll get 24-hour protection, and there's no cost for parts or activation. Call now about a free security system monitored by ADT. Call 1-888-987-3232. $99 installation charge, 36-month monitoring agreement at $35.99 per month. Total package includes 6 door window sensors. Labor charges may apply. Call for terms and conditions to this offer and protect your home license numbers. Call now, 1-888-987-3232.
Hello, this is Aaron Watson, your Atlanta City Council member, Post 2 at Large, encouraging you to register for Atlanta's Cry Wolf false alarm system. It is a free program aimed at reducing false burglary and security alarms at your home and business. When there's a false alarm and Atlanta police respond, they are pulled away from true emergencies. When you register with Cry Wolf, you are saving yourself from paying fines up to $150, and you are keeping our police focused on fighting crime. This is your Atlanta City Council member, Aaron Watson, reminding you to register online at crywolf.us/AtlantaGA or call 1-855-725-7102.
The lawyers of Johnson, Hopewell, Coleman offer the quality, experience, and expertise of a big firm, but with the personalized, client-centered approach to legal services that only a smaller firm can offer. Practice areas include personal injury, auto accidents, slip and fall, and negligent security, plus on-the-job injury, bankruptcy, family law, business and corporate law, wills and estates, and charter schools. Call today to see why Johnson, Hopewell, Coleman should be your one-stop law shop for all of your business and personal needs. Conveniently located in Decatur, within 5 miles of both 285 and I-20. Call and schedule an appointment right now. 404-289-2244. 404-289-2244. Or go online to jhclawyers.com. The hiring of an attorney is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertising. Ask for free written information about the firm's qualifications and experience.
Good afternoon and welcome back. Listen to Present Politics live on Love 860 AM. Phone number 404-355-8699. Sitting here with Liz Flowers. And we want to get to one of our callers, Jerome from Douglasville. Join the conversation. How are you, Jerome?
Hey, how you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Glad we could get you in.
How you doing, Miss Flowers? Good that I'm able to call in again.
Good to hear from you.
Yeah, originally I was going to speak on the quote-unquote compromise that's getting ready to happen between House Democrats and the House Senate to basically let the unemployment insurance lapse. And they shouldn't compromise anything. If they want to have another shutdown, let it happen because it's going to enrage the people and it won't last as long. But the conversation that you've been having about the local politics really has pushed me to talk more in depth about that and how important it really is, and how I would say Republican citizens of Georgia need to understand that their elected officials do not care about them. They only care about their vote because they're basically voting against their ideals. There's all Republicans in Georgia they also are on food stamps. They're also on unemployment, this, that, whatever. But they're voting for people that are voting against that. But the Republican message is so strong, they don't see that. That's the gap that needs to be bridged.
You know, you're completely right. And the thing is that I say this all the time on the show, that Republicans have created what I call odd and insane coalition. That you have different parts of the party that work directly against other parts of the party. And because of that, you get bad public policy out of the whole situation. You end up with a belief system where we both need government that intrudes into our personal lives and bedrooms, but government that stays out of our pockets. You need a government that cuts taxes, but also a government that is able to pay for a large and expansive military, that's able to pay for all of these different programs Republicans want, but at the same time charging no one anything. And the Republican Party, if you gave them full power over the government, you would have chaos, which is almost the point that we're at right here in Georgia now.
It's funny that you said that, sir. That makes me think about the shutdown and the sequester. If I'm not mistaken, Georgia alone, there were at least 50,000 people that were either laid off and fired because of that, especially in the military. I would say more than likely half of those are Republicans that's going to turn around and vote for those same people that voted for the shutdown and the sequester. There has to be something. I mean, I know a lot of these people are corrupted by Fox News, and that show has turned some intelligent people very stupid, but we got to get those people back. I'm serious. Because they have to understand that these people do not care about them. It's not about party anymore. It's about money. If you're broke, they don't care. That's why there's no middle class. It's been destroyed because everything is about money.
Well,
you could be white, purple, or pink. If you don't have any money, a Republican politician does not care about you.
But this was insane to me, that the majority of the Republican supporters are poor people. These are poor people in Appalachia, poor people in the Midwest, poor people in the backwoods, riding their pickup trucks, eating mayonnaise sandwiches, listening to John Cougar Mellencamp. These are the people who are supporting the Republican Party, people who need tax cuts, who live on disability and VA benefits and Social Security, people who are completely dependent on the federal government for their sustenance, hate the federal government.
Robert, you've just drawn us a beautiful picture. But you know what it is? I think it is. There's part of it that I think somehow in people they believe that when I am rich, I don't want to pay any taxes, without some leap in their mind that they have to work hard and they're going to be part of a middle class, because very few of us climb out of the class that we're actually born into, without hard work, without a good education. And I don't think, Jerome, that it's just about money. I think what we're seeing at the federal level, and to a large degree in Georgia right now, is a Republican Party that is so dug into politics because they see the same numbers we do. They see the same thing on the horizon, which is they can't win at the national level for years to come. Mathematically, it's becoming almost impossible for them at the national level. And in Georgia, our population is shifting. People are changing so rapidly that they've got to kind of skirt around the edges and cheat and just stay on talking points versus actually getting into the real policy that Robert's been talking about and saying we need to do what's right for people for the long term, not just try to, scuttle around whatever it is that's going to happen.
This is what I think the Republicans rely on. It's almost like commercials for the lottery. You hear commercials for the lottery that any day now you're going to hit it. Today can be the day. And that's what Republican politics is based off of. That, the reason that we need to screw these poor people is because tomorrow you're not going to be with those poor people. You're going to be rich any day now because you work harder. You're better than them. You believe you are an American and you're not going to be poor much longer. And therefore, you should support us so that when you are rich,
right,
you will then be in a perfect position to take advantage of all this. So if they do this individualized group think that each person is just on the verge of getting rich tomorrow, then that's how they're able to keep so many people who every part of them is against the Republican ideology. That's how they're able to keep them voting for them. All of us have encountered, the log cabin Republican who, even though the Republicans hate the LGBT community, they still support them on economic issues because, they'll be rich any day now. You'll encounter the black Republican who says, every time I go to a Republican event, there's a lot of Confederate flags, and, a lot of talk about the Old South. But still, I support them on these issues. They get people to vote against what makes sense. And if I could figure out how exactly they did that, I'd be a lot richer right now.
Exactly. I think we all.
I'm hoping that you can answer it. I have one question for you too, because you two are highly intelligent. In our society, we have there's lobbyists out there in Washington and Georgia, everywhere, and they're for each particular type of dynamic and demographic. Where are the lobbyists for the poor people? Where are they?
Well, see, the issue is that when you're a lobbyist for poor people, you don't get paid. So that's why it's so hard to find them. They're so few and far between because it's hard to have a concrete lobbying organization. That's supposed to be what our elected officials are in theory, that the poor, the masses, we vote for these people for them to stand up for our rights. The issue is that then we lose vigilance. And so when there's no one watching them, when there's no one watching the hen house, they all go off and play. That's where you get this rent seeking. This is where you get these illegal campaign contributions where you get your Nathan Deals of the world, who are so easily influenced by money because the voters, the people, don't pay attention and don't replace them after a couple years.
That's right. And it's not, let's face it, it's not fabulous to be poor. I mean, we have a lot of folks who, even on an advocate level, who make it a big deal of saying, well, it's, poor is it that we all have to kind of get in this level. We all want to be able to pay our bills. We all want to pay the light bill. We all want to be able to put food on the table. We want to send our kids to good schools. But we also have to get out of this ideal that Robert was talking about, where someday we're going to hit the jackpot the next day. The truth is, in Georgia, in America, most of us are going to be in that middle class for most of our lives, and we need to start voting with that in mind, not that someday we're going to be rich and climb out of this thing and live in a palace.
Exactly. I think far too many people, they're not, we've come to a point in society where the middle is no longer okay. That people, they don't want to have that just normal American life, just normal 2-bedroom house, 1 car, children go to school, you eat every week. That's no longer part of the American dream. Now the American dream, I would say in part because of reality television and our hip hop culture and all of these things, has turned into, I need to be opulently rich, and like what was the movie Get Rich or Die Trying? That's the way that they think, that I need to get all the way to the top. I can't just live and exist in the middle. And because of this, that's why we have people who support these insane Republican policies, because to them, they figure it's fine because it's them that it's affecting, not us. It's not me who's going to be directly detrimented by this. It's going to be someone the heck else.
That's right. Hey, Jerome, thank you so much. Do we have another caller?
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jerome. We have Lawana calling in from Atlanta to talk about the minimum wage. Lawana, are you there?
I am.
Hey, how are you doing today? Welcome to Present Politics.
Great. Hey, so I had a question for you guys, because my friends and I are having this debate, and so wanted to pick you guys' brains about where you guys feel like the minimum wage should be. Because we're having that argument as to, obviously we feel like it needs to be raised, but to what degree? So we're trying to decide, is that $10? Is that $15? Is that $12? Because what I would personally like to see is, it raised to about $10 to $12. But what I don't want to see happen is that we impact small businesses so much to where they can't do what they need to do, or people won't begin to open small businesses because they can't. But I'm not as concerned about the larger corporations where, obviously they're making $3 or $4 billion at the top end. I'm not concerned about them. I'm concerned about our small businesses. So I wanted to find out, what do you guys feel like is a happy medium to where we're not impacting the small businesses that really help our economy, but still needing to make sure that people have a living wage at this point?
You make a great point. And this is the suggestion that I made 15 years ago when I was in high school. I wrote a paper on this, and I still stand by it, which is I think the minimum wage should be indexed to the point that it is 120% of the poverty line. Therefore, if you work a 40-hour week for the entire year, you will make 120% of where the poverty line is. That keeps you out of poverty. That is a living wage. You can pay your bills. You can support yourself, maybe not a family of 4, because I think that's where some people want the minimum wage to be, but you make enough money to support yourself, pay all of your bills, and because it's indexed to the poverty line, that means it automatically goes up each year with where the line is. We had situations when I was in high school, the minimum wage was $5 an hour. It stayed there until I was almost out of college. It was, almost a decade before it was raised to $7 an hour. So I think it should be indexed so that it moves each year. And also, I believe, just as with many federal laws on employment and other issues, that should be varied by the number of employees that you have. Most federal labor laws are indexed so that they only take effect if you have over 50 employees, and then others if you have over 500 employees. So if you're a business that has over 500 employees, then you have to go by the indexed median minimum wage. That way you don't end up with a mom and pop shop going out of business because they can't afford to pay employees. And it also gives room for small businesses to grow and also supports individuals. That's my idea. For some reason, no one else agrees with my idea, or else it would have been done by now.
I agree with that. Does that matter?
I like it. I like that.
Well, I've been trying to pitch this idea for decades now to elected officials. But unfortunately, as Jerome said, I don't have a lobbying group that can go out and sway and wine and dine officials, and McDonald's does, and so does Burger King, and so does all the industries that have minimum wage employees. But I definitely think that we have to do something about minimum wage, but setting a concrete number is where it gets hard. Because when you, let's say, the workers were out striking and debating this week saying that they wanted $15 an hour, and I know a lot of just middle class people who, recouched at it, who said $15 an hour to flip burgers, because it just doesn't sound right in their minds. But if you index it to minimum wage, then you can say 120% of the poverty line. That way you're not absolutely at poverty, you're slightly above it. It still gives you incentive to work. It allows large businesses to continue to finance their workforce, and it prevents mom and pop businesses from going out of business.
I can tell you that this year the Senate Democrats are going to be introducing legislation aimed at minimum wage for exactly that reason. I think Robert's got some really good ideas. And Luana, your point's really well taken in that what no one wants to do is hurt the small businesses, which are the backbone of our state. And the majority of those small businesses, I understand, are now owned by women. So we certainly don't want to we don't want to put those businesses in a place that hurts them and keeps them from being able to grow and do what they do and pursue their dreams, but we also want to make sure that our families, nobody can live on a few bucks an hour. I would challenge anybody to do it, and so we do need to look at raising the minimum wage and doing it in a manner that Robert talks about, which is stair-stepped, maybe phased in, base it like we have done family and medical leave on the number of employees that are in a business, et cetera.
Absolutely, and Luana, I think that one of the most important things is for us to stay vigilant on this debate, because we can't have it an issue where we're riding by looking at the employees saying like, wow, they really do need something, and then you still pull in and break the strike line and order. Sometimes we have to stand in solidarity with workers, whether it's comfortable or not. I know a lot of people who on Facebook, on Twitter, they really support the labor movement, but they were like running past striking workers, like in order to get to those big screen TVs on Black Friday. So it's going to be a matter of us all coming together, whether we work on at minimum wage or not, to really support and stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for calling. We're going to go to break. We're going to come back with another. Thank you. We're going to come back with another guest. You're listening to Present Politics live on Love 860 WAEC. Call in 404-355-8699.
The lawyers of Johnson, Hopewell, Coleman offer the quality, experience, and expertise of a big firm, but with the personalized, client-centered approach to legal services that only a smaller firm can offer. Practice areas include personal injury, auto accidents, slip and fall, and negligent security, plus on-the-job injury, bankruptcy, family law, business and corporate law, wills and estates, and charter schools. Call today to see why Johnson, Hopewell, Coleman should be your one-stop law shop for all of your business and personal needs. Conveniently located in Decatur, within 5 miles of both 285 and I-20. Call and schedule an appointment right now. 404-289-2244. 404-289-2244. Or go online to jhclawyers.com. The hiring of an attorney is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertising. Ask for free written information about the firm's qualifications and experience.
I think Ford service is great, but I wondered what a customer thought, so I snuck up on one.
How are you?
I'm Mike.
And I'm Jackie.
Jackie, tell me why somebody should bring their car to the Ford dealership for service instead of any one of those other places out there.
They have wonderful service.
What do you drive, Jackie?
2007 Ford Escape.
How many miles you got on it?
About 62,000 at the most.
Okay, so how often do you find yourself here at the service center? Is it all about preventive maintenance at this point?
Yes, it is. I come and make sure I get my oil changed, and when they tell you your tires need to be rotated, you got to get that done as well.
Price is right?
Yes, price is right. No problem.
Let the experts help you get more life from your vehicle with the right battery at the right price. Right now, buy a high-performance Motorcraft Tested Tough Plus or Tested Tough Max battery and get a $25 mail-in rebate. only at your Ford dealer.
So you take care of your car?
Yes, I do.
Because you love your car.
Yeah, because if you take care of it, it'll take care of you.
Rebate by check. See participating Ford dealer or visit FordOwner.com for rebate details through 3/31/13.
Hello, this is Aaron Watson, your Atlanta City Council member, Post 2 at Large, encouraging you to register for Atlanta's Cry Wolf false alarm system. It is a free program aimed at reducing false burglary and security alarms at your home and business. When there's a false alarm and Atlanta police respond, they are pulled away from true emergencies. When you register with Cry Wolf, you are saving yourself from paying fines up to $150, and you are keeping our police focused on fighting crime. This is your Atlanta City Council member, Aaron Watson, reminding you to register online at crywolf.us/AtlantaGA or call 1-855-725-7102.
Welcome back. We're live on Love 860 AM WAC. I'm your host, Robert Patillo. Welcome back to Present Politics. Call in, join the conversation. Phone number 404-355-8699. And I have the pleasure of being flanked on both sides by gorgeous and beautiful, vibrant women. We have still sitting in with us Liz Flowers, and also joining the conversation, political consultant extraordinaire, Shannon Marietta. I call her the traveling nomad of campaigns because she travels the country, wins elections, and then just shows back up. It's like a spirit. It's like an epiphany. Just wherever you need her, she shows. She develops relationships. She's the hardest working person that I know, to a fault. The hardest working. But we're so glad to have you here. How are you doing, Shannon?
I'm great. I worked with Robert on Ken Hodges' Attorney General campaign. It was a great experience.
Yes, it was great having Shannon as a boss because it's amazing how much volume a very small person can generate. I'm so glad to have you both in, and we're going to keep talking about these local races, these local statewide races. And so for the both of you, I'm going to open it up. Why do you think it's so hard to get Democrats to run for some of these seats statewide? And Shannon, what are you thinking?
One of my political science professors said a long time ago that a good politician is like a surfer. They have to know how to ride the wave, but you also have to see it coming.
Absolutely.
And those two things are not easily done. And people are waiting for the right time to run. Maybe they want more experience. Maybe they want to build a bigger base. Maybe they're waiting. Maybe that they don't know. Maybe there's not enough. There's not a lot of campaign talent here. I'd say probably. I think that's fair to say. And they don't have the people. Even if they do think it's the right time to run for them. Can they put a statewide organization together? Do they have the time to do it? Can they have the resources? And all that plays into those decisions. So it's tough.
That's a really good point, Shannon. And what would you say then about both Carter and Nunn deciding to ride the wave right now? Because it does seem like a lot of folks are holding out for the 16, 18, when they know the demographics are going to be more heavily changed, and Carter and Nunn are jumping in. Are they catching the wave?
I think they can. I think those two people they know how to ride the wave. They have the experience, and they are great candidates for us. We are lucky to have them at the top of our ticket. I think statewide, all over the state, the down ballot's going to be held by the strength of the top of the ticket here. But I think on that note, they know Obama came close in 2008, and Jim Martin had a runoff with Saxby Chambliss in 2008. And Obama registered a lot of voters here, and they turned them out to vote. And if you can do that again, you can win. But they have to do it. And I'll tell Robert and I talked about this when we ran a statewide campaign, which is just that you can do, as a Democrat here, you can work really hard, do everything perfect, and still lose by 1,000 votes. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. It's not worth the fight. And it's there. It's there. You just got to work really hard and run a strong campaign and keep working, and no one can say no to you. I mean, no one can tell you it's definitely not going to happen for anybody. They have to make it happen for themselves, and their supporters really need to get out and support them.
And I think a big part of it is that so often nobody wants to be those Spartans. Nobody wants to be the 300 that stood up there and they sacrificed themselves and they fought the good fight and they paved the way for the next wave. Everyone wants to be the winning wave. They don't want to be the Spartan wave that got slaughtered. They want to be the ones who came in and after all the hard work has been done, they just want to kind of coast their way to victory. So that's why it's so hard to get people who want to run in hard election years. But what I tell a lot of campaigns, I work with a lot of younger candidates, people who, are looking into their first rodeo, who are looking into, running for a state senate or running for a state representative, and this is going to be their first time running. I tell them, well, if it's an easy race, everybody would be in it already. That the way you really get your foot in the door, the way you really make some noise is by taking that hard race and winning it. But it seems that, like, as of right now, statewide, we don't have candidates who are willing to take on those hard races.
Yeah, and so Shannon, what would you say to young folks who are coming along who need to cut their teeth on some political campaigns, whether it's work or actually running? Where do you tell them to start? How to jump into this?
I think that campaigns are always looking for people. They always have something to do on a campaign. You're never done. That's the thing about campaigns. There's always something to be done. If you're a teacher, you can write letters to the other teachers in your county about the candidates you're supporting. If you're a student, you can register voters. You can talk to other students about making sure they register to vote. There's no amount of work there's no end to the work. So they always need people. I would encourage them all to go to the websites, michellenunn.com, sign up and volunteer, get involved. Don't want to underestimate what a group of committed people can do, like Roosevelt said. So, there's no reason to not get involved if you want to. The campaigns, it is on them to organize these people, and it is on them to try to motivate them. But I think there's a lot of issues out there that you guys touched on, a ton of issues before I got on the show today, and there's even more out there, and everyone's got their own personal story. So everyone's coming from a different perspective, and everyone's got a reason why they care about a particular issue or a particular candidate. But it's our job as Democratic supporters and people who are trying to make things happen that we engage them and get them out. And you can't underestimate what they can do. But we see a lot in campaigns where people will come and volunteer, and then they just never get called, or they come and volunteer and they don't have a good time, or they're not they just aren't instructed correctly, or they don't know what they're doing when they go out. And you have to talk to people, and it's my job as an operative and your job as a leader to make sure that these people are engaged, interested, have a good time, work hard, and do the right thing. I mean, when Robert worked on Ken's campaign, they made 40,000 calls. They didn't make 40,000 calls on their own. It was because every time a volunteer came in, they talked to them. They asked them why they were interested in the campaign. They made sure that they were happy with the work they were doing. And that's important work. I mean, this is really behind-the-scenes stuff that we're talking about, but this is how you run campaigns. The good campaign keeps people involved, keeps them active, keeps them going. Fundraisers, meet and greets, door knocking, the list goes on.
That's great advice.
I think that now all of us working on campaigns, we know that far too often when people decide to run for office, they have this glamorized view of what running for office is going to be. They think that what's going to happen is one day God is going to come down and kiss them on the forehead one morning with one single ray of sunlight, and they will know that now it is time for them to be elected. They will go outside of their front door, stand on a soapbox and give a speech, and all their friends and neighbors will gather around. And then as they talk, they're going to just rise of this culture and feelings and love, and then all the people will pick them up off a soapbox and march them down to City Hall and go to the ballot box, and they will suddenly be elected, and then everything will change, and then a bird will fly by with a tassel, and there'll be jets. But for some reason, they don't understand. We're going to lock you in a room. You're going to do call time, a lot of it, for hours. Pretty much anything that you think is going to be ran through like 8 people, and then we're going to edit it down to the point that anything stupid you thought we will cut out, and you're going to become dull and vanilla, and you're really just going to fundraise, and you're going to do photo shoots, and we're going to let you talk as little as possible, because that's the way you're going to get elected. And I think once the candidates' ideals mix with the reality of a campaign, that's where you see the rubber really hit the road. That's where you really see who's really cut out for politics, what they're willing to put in the work that's required to win.
That's absolutely a great description. And I would add to that really crappy meals.
Yes.
A bad diet for months and months at a time, little sleep. And when you do fall asleep, you wake up in the middle of the night wondering about all the things that you didn't get done, things you should have said. And that goes for the candidates and the staff. And
Absolutely.
I think Shannon made a point earlier, which is not having a deep bench. We were talking about candidates, but we don't have a really deep bench in Georgia with political professionals. When the tide changed here, a lot of folks took campaigns out of state, some of our best folks, or they went into corporate work because the money was better and there weren't that many opportunities. It's important, I think, to build things on both sides. We have to build the candidate bench, but we also have to build the staffing bench to make sure these people are getting the best advice they can. So I'm going to ask you, as a political professional, to look into your crystal ball for 2014, and what advice would you give the campaigns if you were consulting, with Nunn, Carter, Stokes, all the other folks that are going to be running in for the other statewide seats? What would your best advice to them be?
That's really a hard question because there are so many facets. You have to, and it is such a sacrifice to run too. You don't get to see your family as much. You don't get to go to your friends' parties. You are dedicated to spreading your message and picking up support in every way that you can. So, the first thing you have to do is just know that, clear your social calendar when you're coming to this campaign, and that includes both the candidate and the people that are working for the candidate and supporting the candidate. And the second thing is that, but you got to believe in what you're doing, because if you don't believe in what you're doing, or if you're one of these, in politics, a lot of people are in it for money or other things, and I think, deep down, I think what makes a talented operative is somebody who truly believes in what they're doing. Now, you don't want to be naive, but at the same time, you want to make sure that when the going gets tough, the tough get going, and you have that inspiration to keep going. When you're working 100 hours a week, how are you going to make sure you do that? That's because you're talking to people, you understand what they need, and you're doing this for only a period of time. There is a hard deadline here.
Yes, exactly. There's no asking for an extension if you don't make your phone calls, if you don't make your fundraising goals. And, I think one of the big problems is, as far as political operatives goes, is a lot of times politics, as they say, is Hollywood for ugly people. So you have people who their goal in life is, I want to be on CNN, I want to be on MSNBC, I want to be on Fox News, I want to write some books. But what they don't do is win any campaigns. You need to have some kind of record behind you before you become a trusted political advisor. You have so many people who call themselves political consultants in this city. And I know both of you, having worked on so many campaigns, every campaign cycle, somebody wanders in the door saying I'm Bishop Porkchop from the 5th District and I can deliver all of the senior votes to you. All I need is, just a bag full of money, and I promise you. And it happens every campaign. I think the most creative one of these things that happened was a guy came into one campaign I was working on and said, well, I can do a production of a gospel play for the candidate, and I guarantee we'll make at least $500,000, and all I'll need is an advance of $20,000, and I'll make sure we make a profit on it. I'm like, not only is that illegal, it doesn't even make sense. Please tell me no one believed you. And I looked it up. He had convinced 3 or 4 campaigns around the country to do it, and just took bags of money and gone state to state. So it's important for candidates, when you're building your staff, when you're building the people around you, to look into what they have done. Have they actually done what you're hiring them to do before? And when you interview them, when you talk to them, make sure they can give you a true analysis, not just, I'm sure everything will be great because you're involved and I guarantee we will win. No, you need someone who's going to tell you that it's a hard road, that there's no easy way to do this, there's no shortcut, and that we're really going to have to put in the work if we want to do this. Now, we're going to throw the break. These segments go by so fast. It's like they're on rollerblades. They are gone. But we'll be right back with President Politics Live on Love 860 WAEC. Call in 404-355-8699.
860 AM WAEC Atlanta.
The opinions expressed during the sponsored programs on this station are strictly those of the program hosts, guests, and callers and are not necessarily those of Beasley Broadcast Group, this station, its staff, other advertisers, or agencies.
Hello, this is Aaron Watson, your Atlanta City Council member, Post 2 at Large, encouraging you to register for Atlanta's Cry Wolf false alarm system. It is a free program aimed at reducing false burglary and security alarms at your home and business. When there's a false alarm and Atlanta police respond, they are pulled away from true emergencies. When you register with Cry Wolf, you are saving yourself from paying fines up to $150, and you are keeping our police focused on fighting crime. This is your Atlanta City Council member, Aaron Watson, reminding you to register online at crywolf.us/AtlantaGA or call 1-855-725-7102.
The lawyers of Johnson, Hopewell, Coleman offer the quality, experience, and expertise of a big firm, but with the personalized, client-centered approach to legal services that only a smaller firm can offer. Practice areas include personal injury, auto accidents, slip and fall, and negligent security, plus on-the-job injury, bankruptcy, family law, business and corporate law, wills and estates, and charter schools. Call today to see why Johnson, Hopewell, Coleman should be your one-stop law shop for all of your business and personal needs. Conveniently located in Decatur, within 5 miles of both 285 and I-20. Call and schedule an appointment right now. 404-289-2244. 404-289-2244. Or go online to jhclawyers.com. The hiring of an attorney is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertising. Ask for free written information about the firm's qualifications and experience.
Does credit card debt have you living paycheck to paycheck? Are you making minimum payments but only falling further behind? Then here's good news you'll love. Call the Thomas & Law Group and find out about our free no-obligation debt elimination program, guaranteed to settle your credit card debt or you don't pay. That's right. We'll find the absolute best debt reduction solution for you or you pay nothing. It's called Pay for Performance, and you won't pay a dime until the job's done. No upfront fee, no monthly fees, no banking fees, nothing until your case is settled. No other law firm does that. I'm a paid spokesperson, not a lawyer, and every case is different. But if you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt, call the Thomas & Law Group to learn about our new Pay for Performance program. Appointment times are limited, so call 800-229-9329 and find the relief from credit card debt that you desperately need with the full weight of our law group behind you. 800-229-9329. 800-229-9329.
Talk radio that matters to you. This is Atlanta's all-new inspirational talk radio. Love 860 WAEC.
This is Present Politics, hosted by leading political strategist Rashad Ritchie and civil rights attorney Robert Patillo. Listen as they interview trendsetters and newsmakers, both local and national. This is our time to talk about political issues that matter to us. Guaranteed to be controversial and always informative. Join us every Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. only on Love 860 WAEC, Atlanta's inspirational talk radio. You can also listen online at presentpolitics.com.
Good afternoon and welcome back. You're listening to Present Politics live on Love 860 AM WAEC. Call and join the conversation. Phone number 404-355-8699. Thank you for spending your Saturday with us. If you're in your car driving through downtown Atlanta, the SEC championship game is going on and you are stuck in traffic for a while. So you might as well listen to us, spend time with me and our two beautiful, lovely, vibrant, talented, intelligent guests, Miss Liz Flower and Miss Shannon Marietta, political gurus who teach me a thing or two on a daily basis. And we were just talking about, during the break, we were just talking about the pitfalls that a lot of campaigns go through, specifically here in Georgia, but also nationally. And one of the things that we talked about are these issues of trust, understanding where to place your trust, what to place your trust into, and how to build a proper campaign staff. And I know if you've been listening since the beginning of the show, you're probably thinking, how did they get on that topic? I don't know. But we're here now. So Liz, what are some of the things you think we should that candidates should think about when they're building their campaign staff? Because we're going into an election year.
Well, I'm going to use my favorite word, old school, and I get to say that a lot now because I actually am old school now.
Not at all.
No. But I will say this to candidates. The old school part of this, when you have somebody come to you and say that they can work any aspect of your campaign, is to do what we all used to do, which is call a reference. Call the previous employer, if it's another candidate, whether it's a company, and find out how that person performed on your staff. Did they get along with other folks? Did they do what they set out to do? Did they take on extra things within a campaign? Because everybody sitting in this room knows that you sign on for something in a campaign, but you're going to end up doing whatever it is that needs to get done. So you might sign on putting out yard signs, but you may find yourself on the phone going through call lists when you didn't actually sign up for that, but we're all in it to win it when we do that. What was that person's team spirit like? Were they willing to go the extra mile? Were they willing to work weekends? And this is a particular issue, I think, for a lot of candidates who did not come of age, let's put it that way, did not come of age during the social media craze and are just getting involved in Twitter and Facebook and those sorts of things, may not understand it and have somebody come to them to sort of upsell them how to, using social media during their campaign and charging you out the wazoo for it. First of all, I want to say this about Mayor Kasim's first bid, because a lot of folks know that I was on the, one of the opponent's teams when he ran that campaign, and he had a core staff that he paid of 5 people. Now, you would have never known that because his machine was huge. But those people wanted to be a part of a movement about some change and something different. So most of the people on the mayor's team were not paid staffers, but volunteers. So every single person who comes to your campaign does not need to be paid. You need to find your key components, communications, fundraising, and your field operation, and build out from those 3 perspectives. And then augment that with a few people that you may be paying here and there, and then find out, what else you can do volunteer-wise to build that. But, picking up the phone and calling somebody and asking somebody, how did this person perform should be your number one thing. Don't get fooled that everybody who's going to charge you a big sum of money is an expert.
Absolutely. Since we're talking about how to win campaigns, we'll talk to one of the most prominent politicians, one of the greatest campaigners, one of our legislative leaders, one of our leading lights in our party. Senator Doug Stoner is on the phone. Doug, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are y'all doing?
We're doing great. Thanks for calling in.
Well, glad to. Obviously, you've got a great group of folks there today. Talk about the issues, and especially about campaigning.
And it's great to have a political show here at Atlanta, because we haven't had one in a while where you can talk about some of the nitty gritty, like inside politics of running campaigns. So we were giving advice to first time candidates. What would be something you would tell somebody running for their first time?
Well, I think y'all have given Sharon and Liz, y'all have given some really good advice. In particular, as I always tell folks when you run. I think all of us know this. First-time candidates don't normally win.
Absolutely.
And that's something I think a lot of people don't, as I think y'all were talking about earlier. I think you were mentioning you suddenly you expect the light to come from above and lift you up, and if you decide to run. And what you talked about, getting out there and, running and getting to know folks and working hard. I mean, people always ask me, how did I decide to run for office? I said, well, I got involved in my community. I just didn't decide tomorrow I'm going to run for public office. But I'd already done civic service, served on local authorities, boards, whatever. And that's what I tell people. I said, well, how do you do that? I said, go talk to folks that are already elected, have them, serve on a board somewhere, build relationships, and then if you decide you want to go to an elected position, you've already built yourself a base of folks who know you and know your work in the community, and then you run. And then, yes, you may lose your first race. I did, actually. I lost my first race when I first ran in 2000, but I came back and ran again in 2002 and won. And as they say, a lot of times you learn as much from failure as success.
And I agree with that completely, because your first time running, and I know from my first and probably only time running, is that everything is different when you're the candidate versus when you're working on the campaign. Because when you work on the campaign, in your mind, you're like, well, I have them a candidate, so this all worked out. So being a candidate will be easy. It's a completely different ball game. The stresses are completely different. The expectations are completely different. So what would you say has been your key to being so successful in politics here in Georgia?
Well, I think, again, as I said, first getting involved, building relationships and building a base before you decide to run for public office, at least has been my experience. And that's a very traditional experience for most people who decide to run for local office or run for state house or state senate. If you look at most folks, they've been involved in their community prior to running for those offices. But the other part is just, understanding, as I think was mentioned, previously, is that there's a lot of hard work. As you said, this is not glamorous. Yes, you're not going to spend a lot of time with your family. The first thing you need to do is making sure that your family is okay with this, that they understand you're not going to be around a lot, that you're definitely of giving yourself in the sense of truly public service. And the thing is going out and asking people for their support, figuring out. I think it was mentioned about riding the wave, understanding what is going on. And something I always did was I actually talked to folks who were in elective office. I had built relationships with folks who already are in elective office, and just like anything else, asked advice. Now, some of it's good, some of it's not, but I learned a lot of things by just asking folks who had done it before me and who had been successful.
Senator Stoner, you and I have a deep background, both in working in the Senate together as the chairman of our caucus, and then working together during your last bid. And, talk a little bit about using consultants, because you and I see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, but there have been one or two times that I remember that you and I did not see eye to eye. And talk about how to use consultants and the staff that you have around you in terms of their advice and their expertise.
Well, as Liz well knows, and anyone who's worked with me, either as a staffer to me or in a sense as a consultant I've hired for a campaign, I'm the type of person who likes to sit down and let everybody have their say. Also, when I look for a consultant, I do look for folks, as was mentioned, I want to look at folks who've had that have had a success record, are legitimate folks who've worked on campaigns, not for the first time, but have had a history. And, if you're looking for folks like that, you're going to pay for that experience. But when it comes to an example, I think this last campaign in 2012, where I was gerrymandered into a solid Republican seat. In fact, they had taken my district and turned it from a 52% Democratic seat to a 62% Republican seat. And I made the decision to obviously not just walk away, to defend that seat, even though I knew it was an uphill battle. But I went and, hired a good pollster, someone who had experience, and hired a good mail house, someone who had actually worked with before. Actually had asked Liz to come in and work on communications. And Liz is right. We, at several points during the campaign, I got everybody in a room. We're listening, having conversations. Not everybody agrees. And at the end of the point, the candidate, you've got to listen to everyone, and then the candidate's got to make a decision because you're the person running. And, Liz and I had some disagreements, and then later on I had some disagreements with the mail house. And then finally had to say, specifically ask the pollster for, looking at some information on what we needed to do. And, had to tell the mail house, no, we're not doing that. We're doing this. Liz, you can elaborate if you like to on a little bit of that because you were there in the room and know how it went.
Yeah. Well, I won't elaborate too much, but what I will say is this: and that's I'm happy you were talking about it because it is the candidate's decision at the end of the day, and it does behoove, if you're going to hire people who are professionals and who are consultants, to listen to what they have to say because that's what you're paying them to do. They've been on different races. They understand how this works. And Shannon, I know that you've probably been up against this a million times. Sometimes you disagree, sometimes you don't. You give your boss essentially the best information you can give them based on your experience and hope that they'll make the right decision, for their campaign.
I was going to say a couple of things. One, and this is just this is old news, but I find it interesting, is that not to forget that Gingrich, I think, ran for office 4 or 5 times before he won his congressional seat and went on to be speaker. And then also Dave Worley almost beat, I think on his election, he only beat Dave Worley by 600 votes. And I think the other thing with Senator Stoner too, I mean, I hope Senator Stoner that this isn't the last time you're going to run, because you got to keep running, you've got to keep fighting, you've got to keep pushing, and you shouldn't just say, okay, oh, I lost, I'm done. I think if you have a passion to help people and you're a problem solver and you're out there in the community and you feel like you need to run again, like you should. And I don't think that throwing in the towel is something that Democrats can do here. You got to keep fighting no matter what. And consultants come and go, but you'll always have your vote. Your voter base is still going to be there, and I think there are a lot of consultants to choose from across the board, all different style, all different types. You just want to have somebody, and this comes back to management and leadership, managing your team, recognizing somebody's strengths and letting them go with that strength and delegating, recognizing somebody's weakness, but and then keeping that in check, obviously. But all that is just management, leadership, and that comes into play as a candidate too, whether you're a good candidate or not. It's not just, can you give a good speech? Can you ask for $100? Can you shake a hand and hold a baby? A lot of it is leadership, management skills, and managing your team to where you're utilizing everyone effectively.
That's great advice. And Senator Stoner, I'm hoping you'll consider Love 860 as a place that when you do decide to make an announcement of any kind, you'll let us know, unless you're willing to do that today.
Yeah, let's make some news here. We have some statewide seats that need to be filled.
That's right.
You have a huge base, a huge constituency. I don't know any Democrat in the state who wouldn't support you. So let's make some news here. What are you running for?
Well, I'm first. I'm going to run and talk to my wife. That's why I've had a successful marriage for 23 years and everything. No, do not worry. I mean, I am definitely going to run again at some point for a lot of personal reasons for this upcoming time. I'm just not going to be able to put myself out there in this upcoming election cycle. But myself, I'm not done. As anyone who knows me, politics is definitely in my blood. My first campaign was when I was 13 years old.
Wow.
For a local county commission race, I worked on a campaign. By the time I ran for office, I had worked on about 20-plus campaigns in different positions. And I could be a political consultant, but as I think any political consultant knows, it's not the best thing for family life, being a political consultant sometimes. But I am definitely, as Sharon was, I don't want you to worry, I will be running again at some point. Unfortunately, I'm not going to make any news for you guys today. But I will consider 860 a place to come to definitely be some of the first folks to let know that I'm looking at running in a future race.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Senator Stoner, for calling in. And just so you know, you have 3, I guess Rashad's here, so 4 great consultants who, as soon as you're ready to run, you have a campaign staff in waiting. You have a Vichy government just waiting to move over across the street to lead the charge for you back to the State House or back to the U.S. Capitol. So, just so you know, Love 860 will be your government in waiting. We're your campaign staff already here for you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much, and I look forward. I enjoy listening to the program you have, and look forward to listening to the future. And love to be on in the future at some future day.
Absolutely. Well, we'll make that happen. Thank you so much, State Senator Doug Stoner.
Woo. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That was just an outstanding point and some of the points that he was making are some of the things that we've been talking about, which is I think that with the campaign, the candidate versus campaign staff, it all comes down to trust. As a candidate, you have to know that you're hiring this person because they know better than you. You're not hiring them to be your puppet, to be, well, this is my campaign that I have in my mind, and I just want you to execute it. You're hiring them because they have a particular expertise. Just like you're not going to tell your doctor how to take out your tumor, you're not going to tell your mechanic how to, change your muffler. You're not going to tell the chef how to cook your dinner. You have to trust your campaign staff to do what is needed in order for you to win.
That's exactly right. And, I have to just go back to when Shannon first came into the studio, and I saw the way that you two greeted each other. And that is the kind of greeting that you give to somebody when you are family. And that's what campaigns do. Campaigns are a large family, both with the candidate and the staff. You are going to be spending probably more than every waking hour with these folks, and you're going to be spending 24/7 all day for weeks and months at a time, and those relationships don't go away when the campaign ends, win or lose. So these are people when you hire you're going to be sharing your life with. So you're choosing somebody that you would want to be in a foxhole with, really, and to say, okay, if I go into battle, is this the person I want beside me with their particular area of expertise?
Exactly, because so much of the campaign is not the campaigns don't go to the swift, they don't go to the strong, they go to the one that perseveres. And what I hate more than anything else are the quote unquote sometimes the candidates, the ones they'll make call time Monday, Wednesday, and part of the day on Friday because they had a soccer game to go to, or they went to a couple community events, but they couldn't make all the rest of them because they had date night. I know if you want to win, you have to devote yourself completely. You need a staff around you devotes themselves completely to the team concept.
Yeah, it motivates them and motivates each other.
Yeah, and the thing is, as the candidate, you're the leader, whether you want to be or not. So if you set the tone for being sometimesy and lazy, all those people that you hired are going to follow that tone with being just as sometimesy and just as lazy as you are. So I think it's important for, as Senator Stoner said, to understand that your first race probably won't be the one that you win, but it will be a good training ground where you can look back at all the mistakes you made. Having run before, I can definitely say I look back every day at mistake after mistake after some just cartoonishly bad mistakes where you're thinking, wow, did a fifth grader think of that? But when you run in the future, you understand the kind of work you have to look at putting into it, the kind of staff you have to build, the kind of money commitment that is going to be, and you can plan better for what you're going to do.
Right, and I think going back to another point you asked why it's hard to recruit candidates sometimes, and that is the money. You have to fundraise, and you have to have the network to be able to do that. Especially, and self-funders aren't usually successful. Because calling people and asking them to be part of your campaign, asking them to support you builds your foundation. And we used to say this all the time, every time somebody would do a fundraiser for Ken Hodges, they would mail 300 people their invite. It was almost like an endorsement letter going out from their friend. And we would do it as much as we could. Even if we knew the person probably wasn't going to be able to attend the fundraiser, we would mail the entire list all the time, just as a practice, because it is like a piece of endorsement letter from their friend that they know and trust and shares the same value. So always, I think for younger candidates, especially, their friends are in their 20s, early 30s, they're not at their career level where they can donate $250 here, $500 here. So you're looking at, automatically people over 40 running for office just because of where they are in their careers and
financially,
and their networks. And I mean, I think, what is it? 4% of Congress is under 40. So, it's funny to watch the healthcare debate because it's so laughable how little Congress knows about the internet and the web development. And you see that just because of the age differential. It's very hard to run without the network.
Yeah, and as I can say, I think when I ran, was I 26?
Right.
Yeah,
You're too young. No, I'm just joking.
I would like to mention it was partially Shannon's idea in the first place.
I like to encourage people if they feel a passion to.
So this is Shannon. You wake up, your phone rings at like 7:30 in the morning, and she's super excited. She's already been up for like 28 hours straight,
drinking coffee,
and just wired.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh my God, we're figured out. You're gonna be state representative. So this is what we're gonna do." And then you're like, "Huh? Okay, sure." Next thing you know, you're at a press conference. You get T-shirts and banners printed. You don't know what happened, but far too often you get candidates where they when they're young they run on these ideals, and then you say, well, you have to call all your friends and family and beg for money. It was like, do I have to? Yes, you have to. But what about no? You have to. But what about no? You have to. You don't. You're not going to possibly have enough money at your age to self-finance, and even if you do, you shouldn't.
Yeah, and I think you make a really good point about developing that network, because the way I've always talked about campaigns, it's almost like building it's the entire life cycle of a small corporation or a small business. You're going to open it, build it, and then close it within a really, a defined amount of time. And so you've got to be prepared to run that business. And so, you have to have the passion and ideals and the public service commitment and all of that sort of stuff. But every business needs to be funded. It has to have revenue. It has to have, a news department. It has to have this and this and this. So you have to go into it with that idea of you're building a small business. Now, albeit one that's going to last for a fairly short amount of time, but you've got to be able to manage that company through all of the hurdles, the things that get thrown at you, all of that sort of stuff. Would you agree, Shannon?
Yeah, and also back to social media, there's also a myth out there that people are going to fundraise through social media.
Oh, God.
And that is prominent, and something that I think Scott Gale, who is a well-respected fundraising consultant here and all over the country, I think he told me, he said, well, was your candidate having a bestseller on the New York Times list? I was, no. Was he a former member of SNL? No. Well, you're not going to be getting any money on the internet then. So most of the fundraising that you are is going to be because you also called, because you also sent a letter, because they attended a fundraiser and then decided to give online at that time, but not something that just comes out of nowhere or because you had a great subject line. I will vent 1 second. This is very insider. Something that's taken over campaigns lately, and something that I find to be one of the worst aspects of campaigns these days, is creating a subject to trick people to open the email. I vomit in my mouth every time someone's like, I got a great one. They'll open this. I can't. It's seriously my worst part of campaigning. I hate it, and it's an art form, right?
Yeah,
it's something
really,
that people specialize in that I would just rather not. We got to move on past that because I can't. I don't care if you can trick people into opening the emails, because I don't think that wins campaigns. That's just on me personally.
I agree.
We're going to hop right back on this when we come back. We're going to throw the break real quick. You're listening to President Politics live on Love 860 WAEC. Call in 404-355-8699. Don't forget social media. President Politics on Facebook, Twitter.com at President Politics. We'll be right back after the break.
The lawyers of Johnson, Hopewell, Coleman offer the quality, experience, and expertise of a big firm, but with the personalized, client-centered approach to legal services that only a smaller firm can offer. Practice areas include personal injury, auto accidents, slip and fall, and negligent security, plus on-the-job injury, bankruptcy, family law, business and corporate law, wills and estates, and charter schools. Call today to see why Johnson, Hopewell, Coleman should be your one-stop law shop for all of your business and personal needs. Conveniently located in Decatur, within 5 miles of both 285 and I-20. Call and schedule an appointment right now. 404-289-2244. 404-289-2244. Or go online to jhclawyers.com. The hiring of an attorney is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertising. Ask for free written information about the firm's qualifications and experience.
Hello, this is Aaron Watson, your Atlanta City Council member, Post 2 at Large, encouraging you to register for Atlanta's Cry Wolf False Alarm System. It is a free program aimed at reducing false burglary and security alarms at your home and business. When there's a false alarm and Atlanta police respond, they are pulled away from true emergencies. When you register with Cry Wolf, you are saving yourself from paying fines up to $150, and you are keeping our police focused on fighting crime. This is your Atlanta City Council member, Aaron Watson, reminding you to register online at crywolf.us/AtlantaGA or call 1-855-725-7102.
The holidays are here, and how amazing would it be if every child had a gift under the tree? Toys for Tots is asking for your help. Donate a new unwrapped toy for children up to age 12. Love 860 WAEC is an official drop-off site. Just stop by during business hours between now and December 22nd. We're located just north of downtown at 1465 Northside Drive, suite number 218. That's 1465 Northside Drive, suite number 218. Join WAEC and Toys for Tots in serving our community. For more details, call 404-355-8600. That's 404-355-8600.
Call into this live broadcast toll free anywhere from the continental U.S. at 1-866-923-2860. That's 1-866-923-2860. Metro Atlanta callers can still call 404-355-8699.
We are back. And oh my God, we only have 25 minutes left in the show. You're listening to Present Politics Live on Love 860 WAEC. Call in 404-355-8699. I'm your host, Robert Patillo. We are here with Liz Flowers, political strategist, consultant extraordinaire, and also Shannon Marietta, mercenary. She travels the country and just leaves, burned villages and won elections everywhere that she goes.
I think I'd rather have mercenary behind my name.
No way. I remember I used to describe these Republicans for Sonny Perdue as his henchmen. And I never want to be them.
Yeah, but I think of some of the most fun conversations. I wish the listeners could listen in during the breaks when we have the great conversations. And one of the things that we were talking about is candidates who say they want to run a new kind of campaign. I'm going to do something new and novel that's never been done before. I'm going to talk directly to the people. Really? So you think at no point since the Greek Republic, no one has thought of that exact same thing, and you're going to do something so different unique. Because the problem is, in order to be a good politician, to think you're going to be a good politician, it takes a humongous amount of ego, a humongous amount of hubris, a humongous amount of just thinking that you're special, that of these thousands of people or of these millions of people, I should be in charge. And this is why I should be in charge. And that's why it makes it hard on us running campaigns, because you're dealing with someone who thinks they have a two-way radio of God. And therefore, there's no one who can have a better idea than you. Have y'all encountered that?
Never.
Oh, it's just me.
No. It is like that a lot. And then I think that is the trick for, if I have to come down on the side, my apologies to candidates and elected officials, but if I have to come down on the side for a moment of consultants, it is a hard needle to thread when you are both trying to recognize, trying to keep that person propped up, make sure their ego and their self-esteem stays intact, while also doing what needs to happen and trying to communicate to them in a way that is, both truthful but not hurtful. Mm-hmm. And I think that in a long-term campaign, you want to be direct and truthful with the person that you're working with, but know that you've also got to, at the same time, keep them propped up and pumped up to keep that energy alive, to keep them going. And sometimes it can be a tricky path.
Yeah, it's a lot like being a spouse in many cases, because, you have to tell them the truth. You have to make sure they understand. But if you told them too much of the truth, you will break their spirit and it'll be over and there'll be no redeeming it. But, when you're dealing with a situation where, let's say, Georgia has 159 counties. You're dealing with a statewide race and your candidate has gone AWOL for a day and a half. And you ask them, so where are you at right now? Well, I'm in South Georgia speaking to a prayer meeting with 4 mothers. Did you do any call time? No. Did you raise any money? No. How many people did you talk to? 8, but they were really supportive. How long is it going to take you to get back to Atlanta? I'll be back in 2 days. And at that point, everything in you wants to bless them in a special way, but you have to somehow maintain that composure and maintain the relationship, understanding that we're in this for the long haul.
Yeah, I don't think there's a reason I don't use FaceTime on my phone a whole lot, because that way the eye rolls don't come across and things like that I have to still use the voice thing. But it sounds like you're kidding, Robert, but in fact that is a lot what happens, and that's, I think, where there's got to be a good synergy between consultants and the candidates that they're holding up and propping popping up, and it needs to be a two-way street of information. And I'm not saying that consultants are always right. Consultants are, me included. I've been wrong a lot. But in that being wrong a lot, everybody learns, and you know what happened in some previous train wreck that you don't want to see happen again. So you're able to give that sort of advice to folks to say, we've seen this play out before, and so let's don't do it again. There's very few ways you can go around this. This is the way to do it.
It's a lot like, if you play competitive sports in your life, it will help you because you do have to. I don't think there's a lot of right and wrong in campaigns. It's campaigns that think about what they're going to do, have a plan, and execute it to the best of their abilities. If you things are not always going to go your way. There are always October surprises. I was a consultant for a race in Pennsylvania. They put all their money in TV for the last week, and Hurricane Sandy hit, and the whole district was half the district was without TV. There's nothing you can do about that. So that's always going to be there. That element of surprise in politics, it kind of is exciting. It's one of the better parts, one or more interesting parts about it. But you have to be prepared, and you can't lose your cool. You have to maintain. If you're pitching a baseball game, you can't get upset because you threw a ball. You have to maintain your composure and execute and think rationally and not go overboard or overreact on this stuff, because as long as you have a plan and you're doing it to your best ability, then your campaign is functional and you're working hard. And I think I really think that, you don't have to play sports to understand this, but candidates and teams and they're tired, they're overworked, they're just not, you just got to maintain yourself and you've got to think logically. And you'll be successful. You'll be successful if you do that. Now, if you lose your cool, you fire half your staff. If you lose your cool, you go on the air and you say something you're going to regret. Those are all ways to sabotage your own campaign. But as long as you maintain the idea that, okay, I'm not running for office out here. It's not a vacuum. You have a competitor. You're running against an actual person that you are compared to. So you're doing your best and working with your strengths and their weaknesses, and always keeping that in mind, staying on message, as they call it. You can be successful even if you have a major step back in any campaign. You can still come back. That's happened time and time again. So I think never give up. Always fight. This might be. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this story. I'm not going to say where I heard it from. But I referenced the Gingrich-Worley debate. I think it's been long enough I can talk about this. But I mentioned the Gingrich-Worley race in the 1990s, early 90s. So I think when he lost by 600 votes, I heard that they had gotten a poll about 2 weeks prior that showed him, 6-8 points down, maybe more than that. And they just... they couldn't overcome that. They gave up internally on the campaign. Now, I don't know that, I wasn't on this campaign. This isn't something that I was firsthand. So I'm just telling a story that motivates me. But, they only lost by 600 votes. If anyone had, obviously that was a winnable race. And I would much rather have Congressman Worley here. And we had Speaker Gingrich because Georgia Democrats, for whatever reason, didn't get it done that day. They didn't close the deal that day, and why didn't that happen? And I'm sure that his campaign went back and internally looked at that and what happened there. But we can't do that. You have to fight to the end. You have to execute, maintain your composure, and outside the campaign. I'm not saying you can't be and double down. Romney's campaign manager. Did you guys read this book?
Yes.
Romney's campaign manager vomiting in the back while Clint Eastwood's giving a speech out front. You can have your crises inside, but you always have to maintain your campaign, execute a plan, and be strong and never give up, even to the last day, because you don't know what can happen in politics. So.
I'm not surprised that all three of us in this room have read that book.
Yeah.
I plowed through it over the Thanksgiving holiday and enjoyed every minute of it. And to your point, Shannon, part of the premise of that book is that Obama was not necessarily sitting in the catbird seat when he went into this.
Right.
And his fundraising was way down. Wall Street was mad at him. on and on and on. And while they had their fits and starts as the story goes on with the campaign staff and who was a leak, who wasn't, who was talking about this book, that they stayed with it. And as Robert's talked about management, President Obama stood up and managed his own campaign. Set up. Here's what we're going to do. I'm the manager here, and we're moving forward. And the other campaign sort of imploded for exactly the reason that you're talking about. I mean, Michelle Bachmann sitting on a campaign bus crying and boohooing because she didn't want to go in, literally boohooing because she didn't want to face Romney in an auditorium. I'm like, come on, Chica, pull yourself together. So
And you can't get too upset about it because if you want to win, you gotta win. You gotta have a winning attitude. You gotta be a winner. You gotta work hard. You gotta be a fighter. I don't think you win if you throw in the towel. You don't win if you overreact. You don't win if you shoot yourself in the foot. That's the nature of the game.
And just like they say in sports, the only team that's guaranteed to lose is the one that quits.
Right.
That if you're not there at the end of the game, then there's no way for you to win. And like we said, when you're building that team around yourself, when you're putting together the communication staff, the field staff, don't micromanage. I think that's all of our pet peeve. I can't think of a campaign manager or consultant that doesn't hate a candidate that micromanages. That, you've spent weeks putting together a press release, but all of a sudden the candidate wants to personally proofread it because, they are a English lit major 30 years ago, and they think they can read better than all of the campaign staff and consultants. Or, they want to personally redesign the business card for the campaign, which means absolutely nothing when you should be making phone calls and raising money. But it's all about trust.
Well, that was. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was gonna say one of the things that that Robert just jogged in my mind is when we were in the primary with Ken Hodges and Rob Tilley. Ken was not micromanaging the field campaign at all, and then they were excelling, and he was running on his record at the time, and they were pushing that message out, and it was resonating with voters, and Ken wasn't in there hovering over the volunteers, going over the scripts, looking at Robert entering IDs. I mean, that was all very well executed. And at the end of that campaign, people were saying it was going to be a photo finish. And we won 158 out of 159 counties. And it was a very strong campaign.
And I think that's why it's so important for candidates to just realize that if you bring together a team, if you bring together the best people and you create the right atmosphere, the right environment, and then just let them excel, you go do your thing. Your thing is to be locked in a room raising money. That's the only thing we need you to do. Occasionally, we'll trot you out. We'll put you in front of a crowd. We'll tell you not to say anything stupid. We'll have you smile, do a couple pictures. We'll lock you back in the room. It goes great that way. It's awesome.
Come on, you're not giving enough credit. You do need to be a legitimate candidate. You do need to, it's good. You should run on your record. You should be able to talk about your strengths. You should be a persuasive candidate, or you will not be successful. If you can't sit in a room and convince people to trust you, then your campaign staff's not going to be able to do it for you.
Robert, I have to give a special shout out then to Doug Stoner since he took the time to call in. But we actually, and I'm taking royal credit here because I wasn't with him every day at call time. He had to be kicked out of the call time room.
Yes, that's the candidate
How many candidates have you ever known to do that? So we love Doug Stoner for that. Yeah.
We're gonna throw the break real quick. We're gonna come back for our last segment of Present Politics. Wow, these 2 hours go by so fast. It's amazing. You're listening to Present Politics. I'm Robert Patillo here with Liz Flowers and Shannon Marietta on Love 860 AM WAEC. Remember to call in. Last segment, 404-355-8699.
Hello, this is Aaron Watson, your Atlanta City Council member, Post 2 at Large, encouraging you to register for Atlanta's Cry Wolf false alarm system. It is a free program aimed at reducing false burglary and security alarms at your home and business. When there's a false alarm and Atlanta police respond, they are pulled away from true emergencies. When you register with Cry Wolf, you are saving yourself from paying fines up to $150, and you are keeping our police focused on fighting crime. This is your Atlanta City Council member, Aaron Watson, reminding you to register online at crywolf.us/AtlantaGA or call 1-855-725-7102.
The lawyers of Johnson, Hopewell, Coleman offer the quality, experience, and expertise of a big firm, but with the personalized, client-centered approach to legal services that only a smaller firm can offer. Practice areas include personal injury, auto accidents, slip and fall, and negligent security, plus on-the-job injury, bankruptcy, family law, business and corporate law, wills and estates, and charter schools. Call today to see why Johnson, Hopewell, Coleman should be your one-stop law shop for all of your business and personal needs. Conveniently located in Decatur, within 5 miles of both 285 and I-20. Call and schedule an appointment right now. 404-289-2244. 404-289-2244. Or go online to jhclawyers.com. The hiring of an attorney is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertising. Ask for free written information about the firm's qualifications and experience.
If you're ready to make education a priority again, you're invited to see and hear the exciting changes at ITT Technical Institute. We can help build a whole new education plan for your future. Find the one right for you. With over 130 campuses nationwide, ITT Tech teaches skills and knowledge that can help you prepare for a number of technology fields. Perhaps ITT Tech can help you. Classes meet just a few times a week, and financial aid is available for those who qualify. So, what's stopping you? With hands-on applications and knowledgeable instructors, ITT Tech can help you pursue your potential. Get started with more information and make plans to schedule your ITT Tech campus tour. Your future starts now. Call ITT Tech toll-free at 800-758-2891. That's 800-758-2891. Right now, you can learn more about ITT Tech program offerings and bring your questions to ITT Technical Institute. 800-758-2891.
Welcome back. You're live for the last Living in Present Politics, live on Love 860 AM. WAEC, phone number 443-558-699. I'm your host, Robert Patillo, here with political strategist Liz Flowers and Shannon Marietta, and we're doing our lightning round for our last segment. Since we've never done this before, I just made up this idea about 30 seconds ago. This is what the rules will be. We're going to do a lightning round where we're going to ask Shannon and Liz questions and get their takes on some prominent issues and state politics here in Georgia. Round one, Nathan Deal, what's going to happen?
He's got a 36% approval rating, and Jimmy Carter is going to follow in his grandfather's footsteps. One big issue I hope they talk about, that I really hope to hear, that me personally I find to be interesting, I think good for Georgia, is let's talk about what's in our food. Let's talk about what we're giving our kids for school for lunch. Let's talk about who I want to see a strong candidate for ag commissioner. I want to see a lot done there. We don't know what's in the food. We don't know what we're eating. We don't know what we're serving our kids in these schools. I think it's a health issue. I think it's important for the next generation. I think it's something that Republican women and Democratic women understand, and something that could bring us together. I think investing in organic farming here in Georgia, we can do that, and it's not expensive. It's something could really help our communities. And shop local, buy local, do what you can. I mean, these are issues no one talks about.
Farm to table.
Right. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it.
Absolutely.
How do they talk about it?
So, Liz, your lightning round question will be, and we're going through the wheel. So who do you think is going to jump in on some of these down ballot races?
Good question. The insurance commission race is one that's really got my eye and ear right now, because I really feel like we can nationalize this race. There's been so much, posturing by the right on Obamacare, and with Ralph Hudgens and his crazy stuff going on right now, digging himself deep. Somebody needs to say to him, dude, hand me your shovel. I mean, there's at some point where you've just got to say, stop digging the hole deeper for yourself. But you know what? From the Democratic perspective, keep digging, brother, because we need somebody in that insurance commission race who's going to be able to put people over politics, who cares about the health care in the state, cares about people, isn't making side hustles with insurance companies, and who will actually say, it is important to me that the millions of people that live in Georgia have access to good health care through their insurance policies, through their doctors. And so I'm loving that race.
Okay. Follow-up question for you. Session starts beginning of the year. It's going to be an abbreviated session. What legislation is coming down the pipes?
Ooh, this is going to be a quick, fast and furious session. So, because we're moving up the primary this year, and qualifying will be in March, there's projections that we're going to be out of session by about March 17th. And since we only start the second Monday of January, it's going to be quick. So first week, because we're coming into that second year of the cycle, we're expecting a gun bill. First up that week, that was that campus carry bill. We think the campus part might be out of it. We're also going to see a vote on moving that election date officially, depending on what happens with Senator Don Balfour, who's on 18 counts of indictment, and his trial starts. So we've been talking a lot about Ken Hodges. Ken Hodges is his attorney, that they're going to trial December 16th. Depending on the outcome of that, we may see some votes in the Senate about him, about sitting there and not being under suspension and maybe an expulsion. So, we'll see what happens with that. But it's going to be quick. You're going to see the Democrats look at minimum wage. You're going to see the Democrats look at veterans. You're going to see the Democrats look at expanding health care in Georgia. And you're going to see Democrats talking about voting rights, even though the U.S. Supreme Court has, kind of put a foot on the neck of voters. It left the states of it, they can do their own thing with it. So you know what our own thing is going to be? Let's expand voting rights in our state.
All right, lightning round, Shannon. What do you think Michelle Nunn needs to do to put herself in the best position for the general election?
She's already done that. She's already in a great position. She doesn't have a primary. I don't think so. And she's been running a strong campaign. They've been great on fundraising. They've been great on getting her organized for next year when they really gear up. But I think, to be honest, she is going to be able to reach across the aisle to, I think, the core. What they have to do is reach the Republican women who aren't voting in primaries. And maybe that's too in the weeds, but I think if they can target that group of people, and Michelle Nunn's uniquely qualified to do so, I think I can't see. She hasn't done anything to make me think that, anything, but we've got great hopes here. I've got great hopes here. I think I am personally so excited that she decided to run. We could not ask for a better candidate to get behind. And really, the Democrats, if you're listening, you've got to get involved. You must donate. You must volunteer. You must be active, because this is a big opportunity for us to make a statement about what we believe in, what our issues are, who we're going to support. Michelle Nunn, we are not going to get a better candidate than her, period.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right, we're coming to an end of the show, but if there's a candidate out there listening who has heard the gospel of Liz Flowers and Shannon Marietta and has decided that they want to get in contact with you and give you gobs of money to run their campaign, how can they get in contact with the two of you?
I'm going back to school. I don't know nothing. Don't call me.
Well, folks can follow me on Twitter at @FlowersLiz, and you can find me on Facebook. And I don't know, maybe Shannon's on to something, but they can also find me down at the state capitol during session, because I do work with the Senate Democratic Caucus there.
All right, and don't let Shannon fool you. For the right price,
stop.
For a humongously inflated, like several $100,000, she will be right there.
You know what my problem is? I want to see the Democratic Party of Georgia. I want them to win and be strong and run strong campaigns, and I want them to actually. And what I really want them to do is help people. And that's what they do. So let's get them elected so they can freaking do it,
Well, thank you so much to our two guests. We had a great show, energetic, fun, exciting, just like every week here on Present Politics. Again, be involved throughout the week. You have to stay around. You got to follow us on Twitter at Present Politics, Facebook at Present Politics, Instagram, Hootsuite, Twitter, all those other things. We are there. We had another great episode. Remember to tune in every Saturday, 4 to 6 here on Love 860 AM WAEC. I'm your host, Robert Patillo. Thank you, and have a great weekend.
You've been listening to Present Politics with Rashad Ritchie and Robert Patillo. Join them next Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. as they cover the present politics that affect our local, state, and national communities. For more information, go to presentpolitics.com.